Alrighty, so here's Gemini FTK deck. I did 10 sample hands to show you what the deck's like in action, what it's all about. I had 9 FTKs and 1 brick. Of course, in a real game, things might not be quite that smooth in this hand trap meta we all know and love. All the basic kill combos are in a playlist in the description in case you want to read further. Most of them are 2 or 3 card FTKs. I'm going to show the deck list at the end and talk more about the cards, choices, etc. then. For now, here's those draws. Alrighty, starting out, we've got 3 Rescue Rabbits and his 6 Vanillas. Rescue Rabbits is one of our main playmakers. He lets you start off a bunch of combos. He lets you bring out Phantom Core just off his own back. We've got Gem Armadillo, only at 2. He's essentially a weaker Rescue Rabbit, but he can still be used to make Phantom Core because Phantom Core only needs gem monsters, not gem knights, and Gem Armadillo is of course a gem. We have 1 Obsidian because he's not that good, but he's worth searching out sometimes, especially with Armadillo. We've got 3 Scorpio and 2 Cobra because we want to search for Brilliant Fusion, and these guys let you search for Brilliant Fusion. We've got our 3 Lone Fire Blossoms to help bring out Scorpio. We have 1 Dandelion, who's really good for tokens. We've got 1 Gofu, who he gives you tokens as well, and we need special summoned monsters on the field in order to deal burn damage. That's why we've got those 2. We've got 1 Crystal Rose, so we can Brilliant Fusion into our Seraphonite. Crystal Rose is also great. He's essentially a Gem Knight Prisma, and he can summon himself back from the graveyard by banishing a fusion from your graveyard. We've got 3 Lazuli, who's another main playmaker, and she's going to target a normal monster in your graveyard when she's sent to the graveyard by a card effect. You can recycle it. We've got 2 Unexpected Die, 2 Painful Decision, talk about those momentarily. 3 Gem Knight Fusion, the main fusion of the deck. 2 Pot of Desires, because we want to draw into our big combo pieces, and we've got a lot of duplicates, so we usually don't care if we hit much. 1 Soul Charge, because it lets us get into so many FTKs. 2 Terraforming to help search out 3 Black Gardens, which also lets us FTK by giving the opponent 5 tokens quite easily, which will let us deal an extra 2500 damage every time we use Lapis Lazuli, which is just great. And Brilliant Fusion, yeah, that's not so... most important card in the deck, it's Gem Knights, they get Brilliant Fusion. That hasn't been true for a long time. Usually Brilliant Fusion's in every deck but Gem Knight. Rather, there's no Gem Knight decks to hold it. So, extra deck, we've got 1 Lady Brilliant Diamond. What we can do with her is we can use Brilliant Fusion, mill 3 guys, bring her out, and then bring out any Gem Knight fusion. We've got 3 Master Diamond, who's a Phantom of Chaos. He can copy our Lapis Lazuli and use her effect. We've got 1 Zirconia, because you don't always have good combo pieces. He's just a Gem Knight and a rock. Sometimes you need to fuse something in order to trigger your Lazuli or Obsidian effects. We've got 1 Topaz, who's 1 Tourmaline and 1 Gem Knight. He's usually better to make than Zirconia, but what he is he's a double attacker and he pierces attack position, guys. Now, the other thing we can do with him is we can mill him with our Lapis Lazuli and copy his effect with Master Diamond, so we get a 30-something hundred attack guy with double attack and weird piercing, which is just great. We've got 1 Prismora, because our Tourmalines are our Thunder, and what he can do is just pop a face-up card by discarding a Gem Knight card, which can help us with combos. We've got 2 Lapis Lazulis. She's going to deal 500 burn damage for every special summon monster on the field, and also mill 1 Gem Knight from the deck or extra deck. That lets us continue our combos with Master Diamonds, and it lets us mill Lazulis to recycle our normal guys. We've got 1 Seraphonite. She lets us double summon. Everyone knows her. We've got 1 Levier the Sea Dragon, for when times get hard. He can bring back a banished Lazuli, and then you can fuse with the Lazuli on the field in order to get her effect. Of course, having another Lazuli is another special summon monster, so he can help us with our combos. We've got 2 of the new guy, well, I'll explain in a second. We've got Proxy Dragon, who's just Proxy Dragon. He's good for getting rid of things we don't need anymore, and giving us a 3rd extra deck slot link pointy thing. And I can't read that name. Chimichanga. We've got Chimichanga, who's 2 level 3 monsters. He's a new Burning Abyss Link monster to come out, and what you can do is just you can send a level 3 monster from your deck to the graveyard, then increase his attack by its attack. So we can use him to send our Dandelion in order to gain 2 tokens, which we could make Proxy Dragon with, or just have them out to increase our burn damage. So this guy, big boy, Phantom Core. When he's link summoned, we can add 1 Gem Knight card from our deck to our hand. Usually this is going to be Gem Knight Fusion, because, we finally get a Gem Knight Fusion searcher, which isn't awful. Or Absorb Fusion. Yay! Absorb Fusion's pretty awful, but it is worth considering. Then we can pay 1,000 life points to fusion summon one Gem Knight monster from our extra deck by shuffling fusion materials from our Banish Zone or our graveyard into the deck, but it can't attack directly this turn, as if that matters. So that lets us completely recycle everything. We can recycle Lazulis and just mill them again. It gives us a free fusion. It's amazing. He's the only reason this deck works now. Before, the only FTK combos with Black Garden were 4 cards, 5 cards. Now we can get them down to 2 and 3. So a thing I forgot to say earlier. We've got, instead of Unexpected Die and Painful Decision, we can use Unexpected Die with Double Summon, Painful Decision with Foolish. Unexpected Die is more of a consistent card. Double Summon is another consistency card, which allows us to trigger the effect of Gem Armadillo or Crystal Rose, as well as Rabbit and Scorpio. But I feel that Unexpected Die is better in general. Painful Decision allows us to send a normal monster to grave and one to our hand. Foolish, of course, lets us send any monster. Painful Decision, I think, might be better because it can facilitate an FTK with just it and Scorpio, and it can facilitate a 3-card FTK with Gem Armadillo. Foolish Burial, on the other hand, allows us to mill Crystal Rose, allows us to mill Dandelion, and it allows us to mill Lazuli. So we can bring him back and get a Prisma effect, we can just recycle a vanilla, or we can get our 2 tokens. Okay, that's that. So now, side stuff. We definitely want to at least side, possibly main deck our Twin Twisters, any amount of copies, probably 3, because we have no spell or trap card removal, except for face-up ones with Prismora. And although that's good to stop floodgates, it's not usually that helpful when they've already got the floodgate out. Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, and Maxi, of course. Mrs. Radiant, in case our opponent has Winter Cherries and they've sided heavily against us, Winter Cherries and Phantom Core, you might want to run 1 Phantom Core and 1 Mrs. Radiant. But definitely it's better to have 2 Phantom Cores in case you don't FTK. Whew, how could you do that? We've also got our Psy-Frame Gear engine, 3 Gamma, 1 Driver, and 1 Omega in the extra deck. This guy allows us to negate any monster effect if we have no monsters ourselves, which means that we can stop Ash Blossom from getting rid of our Brilliant Fusion, and we can protect our Rescue Rabbit, and we can protect our Lone Fire Blossom. We cannot protect a Brilliant Diamond on its own, because Ghost Ogre destroys that, and Brilliant Diamond does not tribute itself for cost. It sends the monster to the grave as an effect. So that guy's good. The cheaper and potentially better, probably not, but potentially, is Prohibition. Prohibition lets us declare a card name, make sure you get it right, people will rule shark you on that, and then your opponent cannot use that card, or neither of us can. So you can stop Ash Blossom or you can stop Ghost Ogre, whichever you think your opponent has. To my knowledge, Ghost Ogre cannot stop Prohibition, so it is effective against her. We should also consider Chain Material, and then never use it. Chain Material is bad. Cast it into the sea. We have Grinder Golem, another guy worth considering, and potentially even using. Grinder Golem, we've all seen what he can do. Stupid, stupid combos. Not as stupid as our combos, but still rather crazy. The problem is that we've got so many FTKs, we don't really need him. He allows us to use some FTKs, but he completely screws up our extra deck, which means that we can't do some other ones. We often can't use Chimichanga over here. We also have this guy. He's good. He lets you send a Gem Knight Fusion to the grave, or any monster, or any card even, and then the top 3 cards for our deck to the graveyard. Problem is that he needs 3 monsters, which can be hard to pull off. He's still worth considering though. Link Spider, we can use him instead of Prismora or Topaz because they're a bit more conditional. Link Spider, he's good for using on the tokens of Gofu or Dandelion. We've got Bazinga because he's Bazinga, he's good. And in case Chimichanga doesn't come out, ever, or in case we don't have him, then we've always got Melier of the Trees, who also allows us to send Dandelion from the deck to the graveyard. The only difference is that she needs earth monsters, so you cannot do it off Scorpio and Cobra, so she is definitely weaker. The other thing we want to consider, the final thing, is in this version I've got 3 Tourmaline. Of course, everyone knows Garnet as Garnet, but Garnet's fusion monster is potentially worse than Amber. Amber allows us to get a giant, huge, double attacking guy. This guy. But Ruby is just a defense position piercer, and he allows us to tribute another Gem Knight in order to increase his attack. He can still be copied with Master Diamond and make him into a rampaging machine, although I feel like it's a bit less rampagey than the Topaz. Also, the Citrine is probably not so good for this deck, but Prismora definitely is. That's why I think that Tourmaline is better than Garnet in this case. And that's the long and the short of it. Yep, that's it. Ciao!